Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 14, season 6 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live on Wednesdays on Facebook and YouTube throughout the season. Evening, Richie. Well, it was a surprising round. All the underdogs got the job done. Seeing the Panthers relegated to last place again and the Warriors win streak coming to an end. How are you, and what do you think of the round?
Doing well, thanks, mate. Seeing the Panthers last place warms the heart. Seeing us lose our streak, not so much, but seeing you get 0 on the tips also warmed my heart. How are you?
Yeah, that was... we'll talk about it later when we go over the tips, but that was the worst tipping round of my life. I've never got a 0 before. I've usually lucked out and got 1, but I was joined by many people looking at all the tables, so I don't feel that bad overall. Sure. But yeah, good. And Paul, he stopped putting multi on tips. Yeah, my multi just burnt up in flames. It was horrible. But yeah, other than that, yeah, disappointing game to watch at Mount Smart, especially. It was just the week of it. I forgot to do the traditional weather report to look and see what the weather was going to be like. Did not equip myself for wet weather and got very wet. Forgot to remind the missus to bring a jacket. So she got very wet and got very angry with me too. So it's just winds all around. It was a shocking walk all the way back to the car, getting cold. But it's part of it. You know,
I know. We've been there.
Yeah, and while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember, search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of the round 12 matches. We'll then stop and take a look at the ladder, our fantasy teams of the tipping comp. We'll then answer some questions from you guys as well as questions we'll prepare for each other. And then we'll preview State of Origin and Round 13 and discuss who we're picking. So remember, send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well just jump straight into it, Richie.
Sounds good.
It wasn't too much news because there was only one news story anyone wanted to talk about this week, and that was Lachlan Galvin. So it looks like he's joined the Bulldogs effective immediately. There's been no official word from either club. Either the Tigers or the Doggies, but all the media has reported that it should be announced any day now. I kept my eye out on both of their websites right up until we jumped on here just to see if they would announce it just before we jumped on. But yeah, it's all but guaranteed that's where he's going to be. Potentially could be lining up for the Doggies against the Eels, which was the other team that really wanted to get him. So it could make for interesting headlines, I guess. If or when he signs, it is rumoured the Dogs will move Matt Burton to fullback to accommodate him. I know your question's kind of around that, so I'll leave it there. But there's also been reports that Reid Marnie has been granted permission to negotiate with rival clubs and leave immediately. The Cowboys are suited, been named as like a place that really want him. Phil Gould's actually come out and spoken about it and said they intend to keep him for 2026. And the negotiations only for 2027 and beyond. But who knows? He might do a Lachlan Galvin and try to wriggle his way out a little bit early. And it also looks like Toby Sexton will move on with the Titans rumored to be interested in bringing him back. So that was a lot of stuff from me there, mate. Your thoughts on the Galvin thing? Amantis has said Moses is paying the power card by keeping everyone at bay. And Jacko said, has there ever been so much hype, rhetoric, and outright BS over a 29-year-old player who hasn't achieved anything yet? I think the most telltale sign, before I give it back to you, Richie, sorry, I stole it from you, is there was all the news that he wanted out of the Tigers. 2 clubs were the only ones mentioned interested. There may have been others that were interested but kept it quiet. But the fact that he's meant to be, if you listen to Phil Gould, in a couple of years, he's going to be the greatest player on the planet. The fact that only 2 teams were actually interested in him. Jacko fixes it, said 19-year-old kid. Yeah. The fact that, only 2 clubs wanted him, it doesn't sound like too many people are buying into the hype. It might work for them, it might not. But yeah, what do you reckon?
It's just a risk to buy on hype because he hasn't done anything yet. He's got a ton of potential. So anyone wanting to throw money at him, it is a gamble. The only thing he's really done is play in a wooden spoon team so far. You can see the potential, but it's still, he's still green. So any hype around him is, I don't think he deserves big bucks yet. Yeah.
I think the best thing about it, sorry, Paul, is that with him doing this, it saves the Tigers from spending the money they were willing to give him, because they were going to give him $1 million a year, which is ridiculous.
And this whole fiasco as well is probably putting other teams off him in some regard.
I think the rumored amount is like 700, or it might be a little bit less. I'm not sure, but that's still a lot of money for a young kid that we don't know if he's going to be good or not yet.
I'm sure he will be, but yeah.
I'm going to death ride him.
The thing is, though, is he available in 3 years' time? Right. So if you want this guy, if you're looking for a franchise player who's going to be with you for the next sort of maybe 8-10 years, now's the time to get him, because he won't be he'll be someone else's franchise player in 2 years' time if you don't go for it. So it's a bit of a
it's a punt.
Kind of, if you don't take the risk, if you don't play the game, you're never going to be a winner.
Yeah, and Jacka said Chalmers Grilling Gould, who got shirty as hell on telly, was great entertainment. Depending on who you're backing, depends on who you thought got the upper hand in it. I've seen a lot of people say that Gould lost his cool, and then I've seen others saying Gould was all over him. I don't care one way or the other. I just like that they were bickering like old men. But I think it's more the point of all the stuff Gould said in the past couple of months about this kid and how he's not an option, they're not interested and all that. But then now they've signed him, and then I saw there was some things on social media where some of the things he was saying in that interview, they went back to his podcasts where he said the opposite and showing like how he's just lying on the spot. But he's a politician. He's one of the great minds of the game. But if you sit here and believe everything you hear out of his mouth, you're a fool. It's the same. This is the same guy that was working with the Warriors and then left that job for the Bulldogs because of COVID, because he couldn't travel to New Zealand as much as he liked. And then as soon as he got the Doggies job, he was in New Zealand bribing high schools. If we build you a gym, your best players come to the Bulldogs instead of coming to the Warriors. So, but it's all part of the business. So I've got no issues with that, but it's, you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt, because he's got a ball in each court with his media responsibilities and his club responsibilities. But yeah, we'll see how it works. I think it's going to be more interesting to see how an immediate switch, how that's going to work with the Bulldogs. Will it take them to another level, or will there be a bit of a disruption like we've seen with Manly and they might get the wobbles? We don't know. It's all hypothetical right now, but by this time next week, he'll probably be named in the starting side for the Doggies, so we can talk about it more there, unless you got anything else you want to add.
Nah, done it to death.
No. All right. The Eels officially opened their new Centre of Excellence last week. It's apparently the largest rugby league training centre in the world. I saw some pictures. It does look quite good. It is nice to see the Tigers, the Eels, these teams that are kind of lower on the ladder are spending all this money on city centres of excellence when they kind of need as much help as they can get.
It opened last week?
Opened last week, apparently.
There you go. It's working.
It's working straight away. First game after it was open, and they look like world beaters. So, what the hell do I know? But did you see any pictures of it?
No. I heard about it. I didn't see pictures, no.
Yeah, and Jagger said Dogs got the wobbles last week. We'll talk about that soon. And then there is talk that the Broncos are ready to offer Adam Reynolds a 1-year extension. He apparently has said that if he doesn't get an extension with the Broncos, he's going to retire as opposed to going to another club. So, yeah, you think he's going to get another year, or will they decide to move on? They've got Ezra Mam and Ben Hunt if they wanted to let him go.
They do. Ben Hunt's not exactly spring chicken anymore either.
No, and Ezra Mam's still a flight risk. You don't know if there's going to be another.
I mean, yeah, 1 year. 1 year is. I think if you're from 1 year, then it throws it out there for him, and I think he'd want to do it if his body holds up. I mean, we've said the same about Sean Johnson, so. I think it would be a good move from the Broncos if they extended him a year, because they're a lot better when he's playing. Gives them that bit of direction they need. But yeah, he's not young. He's injury prone as well. So we'll see what happens, whether fate takes it out of his hands.
I feel like if they keep going as poorly as they have been, he might go another year. He might want to, I don't want to end it on that. But yeah, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But other halves that might be on the move, Sandon Smith. It's been rumored that he's looking at leaving the Roosters if they sign Dale Cherry Evans. Cowboys again interested in him if he pops up, but
that's everybody.
Yeah. Well, they need help, so it's no surprise. But that's kind of what I talked about when we discussed the whole Roosters wanting Delhi rumor, is they don't need him. They've got some good halves there that they just need to give the opportunity. Well, you're going to lose some of these young guys, keep him, and when he retires, then you've got no one. And they'll find themselves in the same hole they are now when all those players left last year.
Bit of a trend, teams chasing halves when they don't need them. Hey, we just spoke about the Dogs doing the same thing.
Yeah. It's crazy. There's a young half with the Warriors that hasn't got an extension yet that I'm worried about, because all these guys are after halves. They might try to grab him. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I guess everyone's waiting to hear on any official announcement on what DC is actually doing. So we'll have to leave that. Knights coach Adam O'Brien has stated that his job is not in danger, and that he has strong support from the board. So
that's what they all say.
Do we give you that award now in the predictions for first coach to be fired being Adam O'Brien? Because it sounds like he's done, man.
That's the death note saying he's been assured his job is safe.
Yeah.
Normally that's the opposite.
But yeah, we'll see. So when you say you're not in danger, you are in danger. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
The moment you start talking about how your job is safe, you're in trouble, because it means there's been some talks. There was more to the interview. He kind of said that the board understands that the poor performances, there's issues with injuries and depth and things like that. So it's not just coaching. But yeah, we'll see. And Tom Eisenhuth, mate, he announced his retirement from league immediately. He had some issues with concussions. He had a pretty big one, and then he got another one in the preseason this year. He's decided to hang up the boots because he's still got ongoing issues. Not the way you want to go out, but hopefully he's got a job somewhere.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Brad. It's a long life after footy. If you're struggling after big concussions, then better safe than sorry, hey?
Just do a podcast like we do, man. I don't know how many concussions I had, but I seem to be fine. And then last one before we get into signings, it kind of popped up. And there was some noise that the NRL is considering bringing Origin to Eden Park. Thoughts? We already know my unbiased views on the world's worst stadium, but
I know it would be really well supported.
It would.
It would be cool to go to. just it just feels like it's just not our thing. But it kind of is, but it isn't. You know, people over here make a big deal about it and pick a state and get the banter and bravado going, but it's not really our thing. But hey, if it came here, I would make the effort to go for sure.
Yeah, and Simon doesn't think the Mount Eden Community Trust supporters are going to allow a game at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday night. Yeah, if they do it here, they're going to have to do something with the time. And they couldn't do it at 8 because 8's like 6 o'clock over there. They're not going to want to have a game 6 o'clock. So it would have to be like a weekend game where it would still be like 8 o'clock our time, but it would be like on a Saturday or something. I don't think it will happen just due to time zone.
Yeah. Look, I think look, Eden Park's getting better and better at being able to do late night stuff. They're allowed to do more concerts and stuff. So I think generally they're winning that battle against the sort of the five people who are part of the Mount Eastern Community Trust. It's not it's not a majority. By the sounds of things, it's not a majority anyway. So I don't think timing's a problem. But I think Simon's next point there that how much money will they get from the government or from Auckland Council? Zero. I don't see that as being when you're cutting costs all over the place. I can't see that being a good thing for you to go and then chuck money at.
Yeah, they should just bulldoze that stadium and turn it into apartments or something. But yeah, we'll see. I don't see it happening. If it did happen, I would be going. I know it, so I'm a bit of a hypocrite there. But, I'm taking advice from Gus Guild. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it develops. They are taking the game to Perth, but they've done it in Perth, so it's still the same kickoff time. So if they did that, looking at New Zealand, it would be 10 p.m. kickoff. Yeah. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. And Jagger said he's over Origin. It's lost what it once was. They can do whatever they like with it. Yeah, I must say I'm blaming Paul because since I started doing this show, my interest in Origin has gone down and down and down. Where I still watch it. I've never really had an investment in it. I've had a team I support, but if that team loses, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, just
interesting saying how your interest has waned. It pretty much coincides with when Queensland stopped winning.
Mate, that's just a coincidence. It's a coincidence. But yeah, I still watch it. So yeah, I just don't care as much anymore.
Fair enough.
It's just hard watching all these guys that should be playing for the Kiwis playing in this stupid Origin game.
Yeah.
And yeah, Simon said Origin's free to air tonight on Sky Open, but there'll probably be breaks during the gameplay. So yeah, it is free to air for people that don't have Sky, but you got to deal with ads, so you'll be up till like 1:30 in the morning on a school night. So I'll be watching it on Sky. We'll go into signings, mate. We didn't have too many. There was one that was mentioned in the comments a bit earlier, but I'll save that one for last. Josiah Pahulu has signed a 2-year deal with the Storm after being granted a release by the Titans effective immediately. The Rabbits have also signed Storm player Bronson Garlick on a 2-year deal from next year. And then the surprising one for some, Tanner Boyd and the Warriors have activated his mutual option to remain with the Warriors in 2026. Nice. He was another player the Cowboys wanted. Cowboys wanted him to potentially be their hooker, but he has decided that the life in New Zealand and reserve grade is better for now. It might have been Jacko that said it earlier. I found it. I'm doing Paul's job for him. Look at that. Boyd saying that Warriors surprised me. There must be something going on in the background. Yeah, it's got a lot of people worried about Luke Metcalf, the fact that Tanner Boyd's staying, but
they'll just transition him into prop. He can follow Freddie Lussick.
Freddie was playing prop again in the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, but it is good to see. Good to see him stay. I'm happy. I had him in my starting halves before the season started. Him and Metcalf. We haven't got to see him in first grade yet. But yeah, it's good to keep him. because it's good to have that option. I'd much rather have Tanner Boyd come in if Luke Metcalf gets injured than throw everything on poor Jet Cleary out of nowhere. So yeah, any thoughts on that, or you're happy, or you want to see him go?
I'm happy. I would like to see him get an opportunity. I'm liking our consistency of selection, but should injury strike, and injury has struck Metcalf a fair bit in the past, I'm like you. I'm definitely more comfortable having Tanner Boyd there, and I'm sure he'll get his opportunity. And I can't wait to see it when he finally gets a chance.
Yeah. And then we'll go to injuries. There were a few, but I've only grabbed 3. Adam Elliott from the Knights, he did his bicep. I have a TBA. They haven't announced how many weeks he's going to be out for. But yeah.
So someone else is going to have to cuddle his wife.
Yeah. She's got my number. Will Penasini from the Eels failed his HIA 11-day stand down. Failing an HIA in the first minute of the game was devastating, especially if someone grabbed him for their fantasy team. He's got a week off to come back. And then Tommy Turbo from the Seagulls, he's had an ongoing issue with the cork thigh. He's going to miss this week, potentially 2 weeks. So I feel for the Manly at the moment. They're losing DCE, and you can't guarantee that Tommy Turbo is going to last more than a couple of games at a time. So hopefully it comes right. I'd like to see him get through a whole season, but he's just so injury prone.
Yep. Yeah, he is, isn't he?
But that's all I had for injuries. We'll go to Naughty Boys. We've got a couple this week, not just the one we had last week, mate. The Tom Starling from the Raiders, grade 2 dangerous contact. He got a 1-match ban after pleading guilty.
Grub.
Thoughts on it?
Grub.
I was there, mate. It looked perfectly fine to me. I don't know what was going on. It was late, but you can't get in trouble.
No, yeah, it's
on Chanel. Chanel's only a little guy. Anything's high on him.
He's not that little, mate.
I think 1 week is fine.
Yeah, 1 week's fine.
And then Liam Henry from the Panthers got a 2-match ban for a grade 2 crusher tackle.
Yep.
It's a doozy of a crusher tackle, so I think
was.
I'd let it go as well.
Yeah.
And then Ronaldo Mulitalo from the Sharks got a grade 2 dangerous contact.
Stoked with that one.
Bonehead play by him. Got the 1 match, which does work in our favour as the Sharks have a bye this week. So the game he misses is against the Warriors, which could be very handy for the Warriors. So I'm happy for the 1 week.
We'll just have to deal with Stone Street instead.
Yeah,
or is he hurt? Is he good? I don't
know. And Jacko, before we move on, he said about the Boyd, he had Boyd and Metz as his halves, and interesting that Fogarty, like Boyd, was a Titans reject, and both similar players. And both players, I think they should have kept, in my opinion. Fogarty, I was very lucky.
Boyd, Fogarty. Sexton, they've had a few halves and just cast them aside,
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's all we had there. As I said, Galvin took up all the news cycle. It was either Galvin or Origin. But we'll move into the round that we don't want to talk about because how bad we are at picking it, mate. So kicking us off on Thursday, the Dolphins defeating the table-topping Bulldogs 44-8.
Yeah, big result there. For the Dolphins, 7 tries, Jermaine Isako, Jack Bostock, Harrison Graham, Herbie Farnworth, Francis Molo, Jake Avarillo, and Kurt Donahue. For the Dogs, Lapoya. Those are all the try scorers. Yeah,
dominant display from the Dolphins. They just hit the ground running and never looked back. Forwards were busy and bullied the Dogs, and the backs looked threatening all night despite missing Hammer. Been a great turnaround for the Dolphins after their poor start, and they just need to keep it up. They do that, they may be a finals team for the first time in their history.
Yeah, it was an outstanding win from the Dolphins, wasn't it? It was a tight first half, but then the Finns showed their ruthlessness to put the Dogs away. late in the game, their attack was on fire. They ran in 4 tries in the last 20 minutes against the top defensive team, no less. You mentioned they could be a finals team for the first time. Looking down the draw, I think they've got a couple of buys coming up in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and some winnable games in there. So this next period could have their season looking up if they play their cards right.
Yeah, and your take on the doggies?
Granted, they were missing players. I still thought they had enough talent there to win the game. Clearly, you did too, Brad. Handling definitely let them down, and the usually reliable defense struggled with their new combinations out there. With missing Crichton, they had who else? Trying to think.
Crichton, Max King. Was it Burton was out too, wasn't he? He played. He got the penalty goal.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to think who was playing.
Who was in the centre?
Yes, it was.
This is great.
Former Souths player. I'm just forgetting his name. He used to be Latrell's backup fullback.
So you talk about the centres for the Bulls were Bronson, Ziri, and Blake Taffy.
Blake Taff, that's the one.
Blake Taff,
that's the way I had my yep. So they had new combinations, but having said that, I think they will bounce back. They're just missing a young number 6, like Bjorn said.
Yeah. And you can see the Bennett curse is buried now. Yeah, I think they're going to be the team that gets away from the Bennett curse. The good old Dolphins. But yeah, as you said, Bulldogs missing some talent, but just never got in the fight. Just simply couldn't hold on to the ball. And when they did, they couldn't do much with it. Been a great side this year, but when their depth is tested, they struggled. We'll need to find a way to be competitive during the origin period if they want to stay in that top spot. Need the experienced players like Burton and Kickout to step up. I didn't put in my notes here, but I was thinking about it. My concern, if I was a Bulldogs fan, is the Bulldogs, they've been great. But every year, they either win or they get smashed. Because every loss they've had has been an absolute pelting. So it's like they're either going to win you a great game or they're going to fall off the cliff. So they need to find that happy medium where in defeat they're still competitive. There's an asterisk there with Origin.
Yeah.
This was their second one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That's what I was just going to say. I mean, this one, it's kind of you can give them a wee pass because of the missing troops. It's this time of year does it to a lot of teams, as evidenced by our picks this week.
By our picks this week, yeah.
But you're talking about depth there. It's rare that you see a prop play the full 80. Josh Curran was on for the full 80, right? So clearly, depth is perhaps a problem for them there with that in that kind of space.
He's barely a prop though, so I give him a little bit of leeway. But yeah, having a guy up the front having to play 80 is always hard work. But yeah, well, we got Curran top fantasy was 78 and Kurt Donahue was top for the Dolphins with 60. Who did you pick?
I went with Kurt. He had a bruising game. Had his nose badly broken and had to have it straightened out, and he comes back on and kills it. He had a hell of a game. Yeah. And
Bjorn said Brad Easley played 80 minutes back in the day. I did used to play 80 minutes in Union sometimes.
A lot of walking though.
Well, that was like if I played 10 minutes, there was a lot of walking. It's Union. I was there for scrummaging and lineouts, mate. I wasn't there to, line break. But yeah, it can be done. There's a lot more resting in Union though than there is in league. I don't know if I could do 80 in league. But yeah, I went with Kurt Donahue as well. It's the off-air story when we discussed with Paul about me and Millie Elliott. The moment Kurt Donahue broke that nose, I was like, this guy is just a beast. The fact that, he came back on and kept going. He was just so good for them. So, and you said, but were they good minutes? It depends who you're asking.
Quality minutes.
Depends who you're asking. You could probably count the amount of good minutes on one hand.
I think that would probably have been the
Entire
80th, the 80th grubby, the 80 of the grubbiest minutes you'd ever wish to see, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Next game on Friday, the Eels beating the Sea Eagles 30-10.
Yeah, 5 tries to 2 for the Eels. Jordan Samrani, Josh Popoli, Jack Williams, Isaiah Ayongi, and Jermaine Hopgood. And for the Sea Eagles, 2 tries, Lehigh Hopewadi.
Yeah, solid win for the Eels here. It looked like an even matchup in the first half, but they just made the most of their chances in the second half to create distance and heap pressure onto Manly. A great debut for Papali'i, who got his chance earlier than expected with Penasini going off in that first minute with the head knock. A dangerous side when they're in an attacking mood, and they should avoid wooden spoon if performances like this continue. There's just too much. They got too much attack in them to be a wooden spooner. Just not enough to be a finals contender.
They're not going to be a wooden spoon. I'm sure of that. But yeah, I mean,
it's going to be Dragons, man. Tell you,
you're dreaming. Back to the Eels. We've spoken recently about them trending upward. This week they put it together. It wasn't without adversity, as you say. They lost Will Penasini, I think, after 1 minute. They were already missing their origin guns, Moses and Lomax. In spite of that, they put on easily their best game of the year so far and ended up winning convincingly.
Yeah, really annoying though, because the rule is no Moses, no win. So that's why this was the easiest game to pick it around last week. But great to see them win without him, though.
Origin period. They have no Moses and Manly no DCE, so I guess it leveled itself out.
Yeah. And your thoughts on Manly?
Yeah, really, really poor. They're struggling for any kind of consistency at the moment. 1 week they look amazing, and the next they dish this kind of quality up. Apart from a couple of standout players, this is just a really poor team effort from Manly. And if this up and down form continues, keeping up with the top 8, they may find it tough.
Yeah, if you only looked at the stats from this game, you would assume that Manly would have won. I don't have the actual figures down, but they had more possession, more offloads. They had a 90% tackle efficiency and only made 9 errors. They just lack cohesion, and their new halves pairing didn't look that flash. And it was another poor night for Tommy Tura. As we know, he had that thigh injury, so he was a bit off the pace. And the whole team was off pace, really. And they don't look like a happy camp right now. I don't know how to say it. We've been talking about the DC thing, but now he's not even there because he's at Origin and they still don't look happy. And the only bright spark for me, I know you said a couple of players, but I think Lehigh Hopewadi, his continued growth is like a positive for Manly this year.
You talk about the Sea Eagles stats there, but look, the Eagles only had 8 errors, so less errors. The Eels also at 87.94 tackles. So this was a good quality game from both sides, according to the stats. Even though the Eagles the Sea Eagles played well and had good stats, they weren't better or much better than the Eagles.
You definitely wouldn't think they were 20 points better with how the stats look, but it was fantastic.
They definitely look worse than the stats suggested. I reckon it's probably more what they were or weren't doing with it rather than the number of errors and that kind of thing.
Yeah, your player to stand out.
Dean Hawkins. Yeah, what a performance coming into stand in, eh? Yeah. Really
I went with him too. 5 tries. He had 4 try assists. So, thought it was great. Great for him. And Paul said he topped fantasy with 67. So, thought it was a good night for him with a bit of pressure on with all those guys out. I think he did more than more than justice to his spot there as their origin period half, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That's what he'll be. We'll go to the next game. Very surprising. The Knights defeating the Panthers 25-6.
Came from nowhere, but hey.
Yeah.
4 tries to 1 for Newcastle. Fletcher Sharp had 1, and Dylan Lucas had 3. Nearly had 4 that fourth one. That would have been amazing had he got it. It was like a winger, wasn't he? Trying to put the outside swerve on the fullback and dive in the corner. Just the 1 try for Panthers. Harrison Hassett.
Spoilers, I forgot to look. You made him your captain in fantasy last week. Did you do it this week as well? This week,
mate.
This week just gone. You did, didn't you?
I haven't locked it in yet, so I'm not going to reveal to you. But that was a masterstroke by me, wasn't it? I still lost to you. Yeah, but
I was tempted. But there were rumors he might not have been right to play, so I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Knights looked almost unstoppable in the first half, especially with how Dylan Lucas was going. Their attack looked dangerous, and they just kept pushing and pushing. The second half was different, with errors and penalties leaking into their game, but the damage was already done. O'Brien's career could be saved if the Knights can attack like this for 80 minutes against tougher sides. But yeah, I was very impressed with how they went. Especially, as Jago said, no Ponga equals a win. I think it was an ongoing, the last few seasons of this, whenever he was out, I used to always say on here, Knights perform better when Ponga's not there, because I feel like they're more a unit instead of relying on him to do everything.
And then he went on to win a Dally M, and you were very quiet.
It's very quiet. But yeah, I think they did very well. Your thoughts on the Knights?
Yeah, really good game from the Knights, especially given how poor they've been playing so far this year. Outstanding games from, we mentioned him, Dylan Lucas and Fletcher Sharp, really paved the way for a big win. The only worry is, as you said, Brad, the second half, the scoring dried up. But, I mean, when you're 24-0 up at halftime and you still won by pretty much 20 points, 19 points. It's against the Panthers. It was a Panthers home game too. So good win for the Knights. I know the Panthers might not be what they once were this year, but you take that if you're the Knights for sure. Big win over the Panthers.
Yeah, and your thoughts on the Panthers?
Yeah, I thought it was always going to be tough for the Panthers, who have been struggling with their origin players. So taking them out of the equation, it was tough going. Could we be seeing the unthinkable and watching the Panthers possibly missing the 8 altogether after going 5 grand finals in a row?
Do you think, before I say my part, do you think we'll go from 5 grand finals in a row to wooden spoon?
No, I think there's too much class for them to pick up. But we're over halfway through the year and they're sitting last.
They're not even in double digits of the points yet.
Mate, I think Cleary and Dylan Edwards alone, without even mentioning Yo and so, I think they've just got a handful of players that will drag the team away from the spoon. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I see them.
The top 8's nearly impossible now. Yeah,
I think that there's no way they're getting through top 8. I think we talked about, I think Jacko said it a few weeks ago that, if they lose 1 or 2 games during the origin period, that's them done. In terms of that finals, I think it would still take a brave man to put money on them to be wooden spoon. But yeah, I definitely think playoffs are out of the question, which is
really because
horrendous fall from great.
The Broncos are in 8th place at the moment with 12 points. The Panthers are in last place on 9 points. It's 2 wins. Only 3 points difference.
Yeah, it's still too early to write them off completely, but
I wrote them off like a month ago, so I've got to stick with it. I wrote them off before they had that big win that made me look like an idiot. But yeah, it was always, I've got word for word almost what you put about the Panthers. It was always going to be a tough ask for the Panthers. without their origin stars. In the past, they've been able to cover the outs, but with how poor they've been traveling, they never stood a chance. They were error prone and ill-disciplined and were just awful. Their attack was stagnant and their defense was reserve grade level, which we're not used to seeing, especially with how poor they're going this year. They weren't that bad. And I think this season will be over if they can't scrape together some wins soon. And Bjorn said, sounds like a bet Brad would do, though, Panthers and Spoon. I'll look into it. But yeah, I think it's probably fair to say who we got for player of the day. And I could probably put money that he was the fantasy leader. But who'd you go with? Oh, okay, maybe not. Fletcher Sharp, top fantasy with 98 points.
Yeah, I knew that too because I had Fletcher Sharp on my fantasy team and I was thinking I should have captained him instead of Lucas. But yeah, I went with Lucas as my player to watch because he was a beast and he got a hat trick. It's very hard to argue against that.
Yeah, I went with him too. He was like unstoppable at the beginning of that game, and it came so close. It was just a good defending effort to stop him from getting four, just hitting his hand when he was trying to ground.
Yeah,
Medley should have scored it like a forward instead of trying to be a back, and he might have scored it, trying a big heroic dive in the corner. But yeah, it was a fantastic effort from him, though.
So on the Wooden Spoon side of things, I can't find any odds for Wooden Spoon on the TAB, but they do have most losses. And at the moment, most losses, the Penrith Panthers are paying $15. The Titans, Knights, Eels, Dragons, and Tigers are all above the Panthers there for most losses in the season.
Come on, Paul. I know you don't want to do a multi anymore, but put your house on most losses Panthers.
Folks, just a quick reminder here to always bet responsibly. But do not put your house on anything, especially a Brad prediction.
Hold on while I put my my rent down on it.
Brad, I think we can wait until after the show. The odds will still be there. It's not the amount you're putting on is going to move the odds.
Yeah, we've got Origin to make it too, Brad. Come on.
Yeah, we're trying to get everyone ready. There's only 5 games this week. Then the next game we had the Roosters defeating the Sharks 42-16.
Yes, 7 tries to 3 for the Roosters. Daniel Tupou had 2. Hugo Savala, Mark Nawangani-Tawase, Xavier Va'a on debut. I believe it was. Hey, he had all his family in the crowd.
Yeah.
James Tedesco and Dom Young. And for the Sharks, Cam McInnes, KL Ero. Does he just get a try every week?
Yeah.
I feel like he gets a try every week he plays. And Ronaldo Mulitalo.
Yeah, the Roosters put a show on here. While they still made too many errors, their backs had a field day, constantly finding open space. Didn't take the foot off the gas, and despite the Sharks showing a little bit of fight for a few minutes in the second half, the Roosters didn't back down and finished the Sharks off. Very impressive performance, especially with some heavy hitters missing from the pack. If they can build off this win, they could make the top 8 in no time.
Yeah, a fantastic win from the Roosters. The Sharks, this is what made it even more impressive. The Sharks weren't even really heavily affected by Origin.
No.
And for the Roosters to put on a clinic like that against supposedly one of the top contenders, fantastic effort. Savala and Tupou connected with 2 early tries, pretty much identical tries, pinpoint bombs, and Daniel Tupou does what he does well, leaping over his winger, and that, from there they pretty much just went on with it, and they've had a couple games like this in them this year, and in that kind of form, they're a finals team for sure. They just need to put it together more often. They're another team that's just up and down so far.
Yeah, and as Jacko said, Chucky's halves were great. I have no idea why they may be getting DCE. Yeah, this was another game where those 2 halves, which aren't even their top halves, had another outstanding game together. It's crazy
So I wasn't really listening, but spicy stats time. You were talking about Mark Nwangwe scoring every game, right? So he's played 9. No, who is it?
KL Ero.
But you could also say the same about Mark as well, I guess.
Yeah. Mark's scoring a lot of tries too.
Yeah, well, Mark is on played 9, scored 8. Ero though has played 8, scored 9. But he's still, that puts him fourth equal on the try scoring charts behind Ryan Pappenhausen at the top, Jesse Arthurs and Xavier Coates in the top 3.
See, my prediction was a Storm guy to be leading try scorer, but it was the wrong one. But yeah, your thoughts on the Roosters, mate? Well, no, you already said that. Your thoughts on the Sharks?
Perhaps their epic win over the Storm took a bit of gas out of the tank for the Sharks. But yeah, whatever it was, they didn't look themselves in this one. They were never really in it at any stage. Down heavily at halftime, and they were unable to stop the bleeding. Can't say I'm disappointed. Not my favorite team, the Sharks, but and I think I was saying to you guys in the group chat that some of these other top contenders around us losing is probably good for us. Keeps our spot secure in the top 4, even though we dropped a game.
Yeah, it does. The Sharks just look rattled. And by the time they figured out they were in a match, it was too late. Had a chance to dominate the middle with the Roosters pack missing some key players. But they fumbled the opportunity, just made too many errors and had very little direction in attack. Jacko said AFB was lazy as hell. Yeah, this was really a game for him to shine, lead his team. And he just didn't. It was a real off game for him. He still did, you look at his stats, he still did well, but he could have hit another level and really dominated the contest in the middle. He just didn't. It's a humbling reminder, I think, for them that there's still plenty to work on. You know, as you said, they had that big win against the Storm. They had quite an impressive 3-week run of good performances. So they have this. It shows them there's still a lot to do, and they need to work on a lot of things before they can enter the discussion as premiership contenders, in my opinion. Blake Steep, top fantasy, was 68 points. I couldn't even tell you who Blake Steep was if I hit him with my car.
He really is outstanding.
He was good, but yeah. Who'd you go with?
No, I went Hugo Savala. He pretty much set up the first 2 tries just with absolute pinpoint kicking game. His kicking game in general is nuts. He's a big body for a half. Yeah, I just like what I see with him. And I thought he was really good.
Yeah, I went with Tedesco because when in doubt, pick Tedesco. I thought he looked really good out there. Probably trying to push to get that Origin spot back. So he played with a bit more vigor and was more of a link man than trying to just be an out and out strike weapon, which. When you got guys like Marky Mark and Young out there, you don't need to be the guy doing all the line breaking and try scoring. So, I thought he played well. But you, Paul?
I was going to say, Blake Steep, 53 minutes off the bench. He probably only got that because Makatoa was only played 19 minutes and was probably off injured, I guess. So, a surprising fantasy point scorer there.
Yeah. And then we go to the last game, which we can probably skip, mate. The Raiders defeating the Warriors 16-10.
Yeah, wouldn't mind skipping it, but we can't. For the Raiders, Tom Starling and Jamal Fogarty, the try scorers. And for the Warriors, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, our only try scorer.
Yeah, was a tough yet competitive matchup, and the Raiders showed their quality. The attack wasn't as good as it's been in the past, but they refused to quit. And despite trailing in the early stages, they finally got their offloads to work, which kind of disrupted the Warriors' defense and allowed them to level the scores, or Adam Pompey allowed them to level the scores, I should say. Then they just heaped pressure on the Warriors, much like we've seen the Warriors do in the past few weeks, and forced the Warriors to chase the game and back their defense to win it. And they did. A massive confidence booster game for the Raiders as they cement themselves as a top 4 side, and thoroughly deserved win. I can't take that away from them. Thought it was horrible to watch, but it was just a very physical and well played game. And Simon said the one weekend he didn't tip the Raiders to win, they had to beat the Warriors, and they did. And Amanda said Clark's our new enforcer. He got stuck into the grubs, Tiffany, Christopher, and Starling. Yeah, Aaron Clark continues to impress me every week. But yeah, your thoughts on the Raiders, mate?
Yeah, they were very good, weren't they? They weren't as slick as we may have seen them in previous weeks with their attack. But I just think that was just the nature of the game. I think both sides played outstanding on defense, and it was just a defensive grind of a game. And I think they made the better of one or two opportunities, and that was the difference. So, and in tough conditions, those games can go either way. Last year, we lost a lot of those kind of games. This year, we've been winning them. So it's a shame for us to lose it at home, but you can't take it away from the Raiders. They've got flair, but they can grind games like this as well. And they've got a great half. At the moment, they have a great half, and Jamal Fogarty, who's got the capability to win these kind of games.
Yeah, and Jacko said, before I ask you about the Warriors, said Raiders took full advantage of us missing enforcers, Fish and Barnett. Plus, I think TMM at fullback was an era RTS far better option.
Yes, I agree. When Chance went off the sin bin, that's when Jamal Fogarty scored, and Jamal Fogarty is not the fastest guy, and Tamaiti could not catch him. I kept thinking, I'm sure Roger Tuivasa-Sheck would have caught him.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, it is what it is. I would have preferred a four-man forward bench going up against the big Raiders pack. But I guess, yeah, it is what it is. But your thoughts on the Warriors?
On the positive side, I thought our defense was really good. We without our two leaders, Barnett and Fish, I thought the other props did a decent job. Like for Ford in particular was good. It was just our attack, and we were talking about it heavily during the game. It's just, we looked like a blunt knife out there, and I don't know. Maybe a little bit the conditions, and maybe a little bit our we have played quite a conservative game plan this year, where we get through our sets, good completion rate, chuck up a bomb at the end through Chanel or Luke. And that served us well in these close wins where we've put ourselves in good positions to win because we've been conservative. But yeah, our attack looked blunt this week. We hardly looked like crossing the line, and it was, watching it was just like watching it was like a slow death. It wasn't good, but I'm sure we'll bounce back. Barnett and Fisher Harris make a massive difference to our team.
I'm not as negative as all of you people. I came out of it disappointed, but looking on the positive side, as I find I generally tend to do when it comes to talking to you and Rowan Hammer, because you guys are also negative people. You guys don't understand. You watch their friendly show on here and watch Richie. They all pretend, man. They just hate this Warriors team so much. But yeah, their errors in discipline hurt them here a lot. The ref had the way he was calling things, and they didn't adjust, which is the difference between being a good team and a poor team. But yeah, it just hurt them, and they just struggled to create attacking opportunities, as you said there. It all felt like it was just one out footy. They just passed the guy and hope he would, get over the line, and it just didn't work. But yeah, they did show some good defensive spirit on the goal line. They held out multiple Raiders attempts for what felt like an age. But got punished by the Raiders with that second phase footy, which opened some holes. Disappointing loss in a game they may regret letting slip down the line. But I think there's lots of lessons to take from it if they want to bounce back. You go back to Vegas. They got their pants pulled down by the Raiders, and here without your two best forwards, basically, you went toe to toe with them. So I think there was improvement, and it just means they have to wait until finals footy before they actually get their win over them. Jackson Ford's stats were ridiculous. I didn't pick him for my player to stand out because I generally try to go with a guy from the winning team, but he was my warrior of the game in my review. He got like 200 meters, and he is, for Paul, he is a prop that you could probably play for 80 minutes.
100%.
If you want to do. He's just got a huge engine on him. But yeah, I think there was positives to take out of it, but a bit like the Sharks, though, there's so much to work on. They need to get that attack sorted. If it's changing the game plan, if it's doing something, adding another player, there needs to be something in there because, you're not going to win scoring 1 or 2 tries every week. It's just not the way it is. Your player to stand out, Jackson Ford topped with 73, and Jamal Fogarty topped for the Raiders with 63.
Yeah, I went Fogarty. You're right. Generally, I try to go with the player from the winning team as well. But Manly have themselves a good one there.
I was going to go with Fogarty, but since you picked him, I'll change. I'm going with Tapani. Tapani
dare you?
He was just a monster out there, mate. He was trying his best to niggle as much as he could, almost exactly like what we saw from Fisher Harris the week before, just getting in everyone's face. And he got me.
He got me. Him and Tamale pissed me off.
Yeah, Tamales I got a bit more annoyed with. I have no issues with them, sticking it to the fans on the sidelines. If a fan can boo you, as long as it's nothing, personal attacks and whatnot. I'm fine with it. And they didn't do much. They kind of like pulled the fingers and yelled at the crowd and stuff. But it's all fair. You would remember years ago when the battles our side used to have with Willie Mason. Sticking it to him, and he used to give just as good back. So I'm all for that. But yeah, Tapani, I just thought he was very physical up front. Maybe was over the line a few times, but that's kind of a player I like. And Jay said, not a good look, player swearing at the crowd after the game. Yeah, I guess so, but I swear just as much at the players on the field. So
you do. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, but you don't get paid for having people look at you as a billboard with all their the sponsors on it, right? Remember, these guys don't get paid for playing league; they get paid for being walking advertising hoardings people like looking at. That's a bit different. You're not a walking advertising hoarding as much as you wear your Bradinger's beanie.
It was Tamale. He's never going to be a guy. People don't know who he is. In like 2 or 3 years, he'll get famous when he's playing Super League. But that was it for the games, Matt. We only had to do 5.
Easy.
If we had 8, I might have got a couple of right, Matt. So we'll go to the ladder.
Your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
So despite losing, the Bulldogs stay number 1. The Raiders moved up to 2nd place. Warriors went down to 3rd. Storm stayed in 4th. Sharks stayed in 5th. Rabbits moved up to 6th. Cowboys up to 7th. And Broncos up to 8th.
And for the rest, Manly in 9th. Dragons in 10th. Roosters 11th. Tigers 12th. Dolphins move up to 13. Knights move up to 14. Eels move up to 15. And Titans move up to 16. They all shuffled up a spot to make way for the Panthers in last spot.
Yeah, still a surprising ladder to me. Happy we're still in the 4. And I see Jacko said if we want to keep calling the league the Bogans game, keep swearing and fingering the crowd. I was going to say the the 1 or 2 hours on this show is the only time you hear me not swearing. Otherwise, it's all the time. I do
can
my
vouch
best.
for that.
I do my best for Paul to keep my mouth in the right way. Constantly get in trouble at work for it, but yeah, it's I get it though. The pulling the fingers in that you don't want to see the crowd doing, because that's the first thing you're going to see in media, right? Like Paul said, you'll see pictures, but I'm a degenerate, I guess. Fantasy teams, mate. This one you're a bit confused about how fantasy works. So due to Origin, obviously a lot of teams are having the buys and players are out because of Origin. So in fantasy, in these rounds, they only count your starting lineup, so you don't have to worry about your bench. You ended up on 593 though, which wasn't too bad. Helping that you had Dylan Lucas as your captain, who got you a massive 168 points.
Yeah, nice to see you keeping that knowledge of what you do during Origin period. You kept that pretty close to your chest, hey?
Yeah,
Got to help me out.
Doesn't help when 5 players are missing, aren't playing.
Yeah,
yeah, but that
exactly.
is his fault. He's trying to make me sound like a bad guy. I will have you all know I sent him the screenshot of the big message you get on the app telling you about it. So that's up to him for not reading it. I didn't
get that. It didn't happen on my phone. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I've reminded you that it happens this week too.
Yes.
And round 12, I got 675. I should have gone with Lucas as my captain. I was tempted, but I went with Aaron Clark. But he still got me 122. But yeah, Smithy's got me 60. Horsburgh I thought would give me more because I thought he'd be up for the game after missing Origin, but that Simbin sent him back. But overall, it was all good, except for Will Kennedy. I'm pissed, mate. Will Kennedy is apparently second on the Dally M's. He doesn't get any points in fantasy. He's really screwed me over. And he's losing money hand over fist, so I'm running out of ways to sell him.
So this is where Brad goes, I'm really upset with Will Kennedy. He's not doing very good, apart from his keeping his language clean for the show. Good to see there, Brad.
What did I say?
Oh, you said you were pissed and you got screwed over.
That's all right language. That's fine. Now we'll go into the tipping comp where there'll be more superlatives, I guess. So if you got points at all, you got one. There was nothing more. So ACT Hellcat, Michael Pazzuto, Harry Poppins, MB Sports Fan, Bjorn, Richie, Roscoe all got points. Well done. They got 1 point. Thank goodness no one used a Joker in this round.
Why would you? You'd be pretty.
It's a shorter. You'd be dumb to do it when there's only 5 games. But so yeah, ACT Hellcat still leading. Pazzuto and Mac are second, third. Bjorn, you're 7th. Richie, you're holding on to finals hope at 8th. And Simon, you're 10th. Hammer's 12th, and I'm still dead last. I'm going to die dead last. I don't
That's
like
rough.
it. I'm going to get it. There's no way I'm going to get 0 this week, surely.
You're the Panthers.
I am. Once was great, and now I've fallen apart. So that is it for that. So I think, was there any questions from anyone else, Paul?
Yeah, you started one. You want one from Bjorn.
Yep.
With Team A going on Matty John's show with a man bag. As a fellow prop, Brad, what man bag do you have?
Well, I'm probably going to get in trouble because he might watch this and come beat me up. But Terrell May lost his prop card by wearing that stupid thing. What the hell? That's something a halfback or another back would wear. It was embarrassing for all of us. I have a backpack, which I can grab it. Hold on.
Yeah, that's it. If you're a man, your bag has 2 straps and you wear it on your back.
I have a Warriors backpack with my name on it for being a member, and I have a Batman backpack when I want to be childish.
And that's what he got for his 7th birthday, and he's still using it.
No, the Batman backpack I bought on the Gold Coast at Movie World when I was like 31, I think. So still a child. But yeah, sorry, Bjorn. That's not my thing. But yeah, each to his own. He can wear whatever he wants because he could beat me up if I said otherwise.
So, one for me then, guys.
Yes,
Looking at
Richard
the,
has one of those bags. Yes, Paul.
really,
No,
I
I
mean,
don't.
yeah, well, he's a back, and remember, he's what he's here for the housewives. That's what we're having on the show. Look, this coming weekend, the Bulldogs will be having their second bye. The Titans have already had 2 byes, as had the Storm, the Cowboys, the Rabbitohs, and the Dragons. And yet the Raiders are still 2 more games before they get a bye. Do you think that the draw is a bit of a joke, or do you think it doesn't really matter where teams get byes?
It has shortcomings.
It's the draw is ridiculous. I think we've said it before. I feel like every team should play each other once before you start playing another team again. Because there's teams that like the Raiders just gone. We've played the Raiders twice already, and we're not even at the halfway point of the season. And yeah, the Raiders. Every team should have a bye before you get your second bye. It just makes no sense. I guess maybe because that would just have a lot of byes in the end of it. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. The draw's a mess. You got a South African picking it half the time, which doesn't help. He doesn't understand the game. But yeah, there's always complaints though. For those of us that get a good draw, we don't complain about it. Those that get a hard draw complain. I don't know if there's ever going to be a way to fix it until we have more teams and you can just streamline how the competition's going to be.
So how do they do it? Though? Do they? Because over in NFL, if you have if you're successful, you get a harder season. If you're useless, you get an easier season. Do they seed the draws, or not?
No, I feel like they just use ChatGPT and ask it to create a draw. It's completely. There's no rhyme or reason to it. They do try to get teams that play each other twice. They try to get more for Australia than for us, but they'll try to get those historical rivalries. Will get 2 games.
I mean, it makes sense for like the Sydney teams to play each other twice. It just saves on travel and saves on cost, right? At the end of the day.
But there's always questionable things in it. Like I think 2023, the year we went good, we had that run where we had 3 games in like 10 days or something, and it was it was all 3 games were real tough games, and it was like Panthers, Australia, Roosters, New Zealand, Australia. It was Panthers, Roosters. I don't think Storm. It might have been Storm. Might have been Storm, Panthers, Roosters.
It was 3 very tough games.
Yeah, because it was Anzac as well. That's why it was close.
So just Jacko points out the Dolphins still have 3 byes. Yeah, the Dolphins and Sharks have 3 byes as well to go, but they have their byes this coming weekend. The Raiders still have to wait 2 more weeks. They've got 2 more games before they have their first bye. So they will be the last team to have their first bye of the round. So Avantis lets us know that NRL use a Canadian outfit using AI. So close Brad to ChatGPT. So yeah, apparently a Canadian outfit do the draw for them. Anyway, that was my sort of little question in there for you. So
speaking of ChatGPT, should I talk about my ChatGPT experiment, Richie? I did.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, we've got heaps of time, Paul.
As a very quick Q&A, Brad, please can you tell us your ChatGPT experience?
Sure. So I was at work the other day and decided instead of doing work, I'd play on ChatGPT, and I asked it to look at all the data from this year's NRL because it's been so up and down. I said, give me the ladder at the end of round 27, and it gave me the ladder, and it was all right. And then I asked it to predict the final series, and it gave us the top 8, the scores of every game until you got to the grand final. And they picked the Warriors to win with my ChatGPT. So it's obviously very biased to my search history, I guess.
Yeah.
But the Warriors beat the Storm in the grand final, and the Warriors got into the grand final by beating the Raiders by 1 point in Golden Point. So I sent it to Richie and Rowan Hammer and said this would be a hell of a story.
That part's believable, though. I mean, we do have a perfect record against the Storm in finals.
In finals, yeah, undefeated against the Storm in finals. Can't beat them anywhere else. But yeah, so that just popped into my head because of the Chat GPT thing. So
have the Warriors ever faced the Storm in the finals?
Twice.
Yeah. My ignorance here.
Twice.
Oh, okay. So it's not as bad as they've never played each other. You know what? No. I mean, the Warriors have never lost the Dolphins in the finals either.
That's true. It's very useful knowledge, but no, not useful at all. But Chat GPT is not just meant to be for useful stuff. It's for fun too. Your question to me, mate, before I take us down the rabbit hole. We
live in a fantasy world, Jacko. we can't win premierships in real life, so we have to win it on Chat GPT to make us feel good. My question to you, Brad. The Dogs are flying at the moment with their current roster. If the Dogs do sign, pretty much when the Dogs do sign Lockie Galvin, who makes way to accommodate him in the team?
Well, as I said in the news part, they've kind of said that they're going to move Matt Burton to fullback to accommodate him because he's not a 7 and neither's Burton. So you can't have both of them in the halves in it. But you would assume that's what they're going to do because if they're already telling Sexton to kind of look elsewhere, obviously they're going to try to turn Galvin into a 7. So I would assume it would be dropping Sexton for Galvin because I feel like you take a big aspect of Burton's game away by putting him out at fullback, which is his bombs. You're not going to have him coming in and doing bombs all the time. You still can, but I don't feel it makes them stronger by moving him to fullback. No.
I wouldn't be a fan of Burton at fullback. He can he do it?
Because it will help us stay in the top 4 because they're going to fall apart.
Yeah. Well, he could do it for sure, no doubt about it. But I think if he's going to change positions, he's centers where he's shown he's good at in the past. You know, when he was at the Panthers, I think he was Dally M Center of the Year. He's a 5'8" or a center. I don't know about fullback. You know, you've still got Crichton who could play fullback too. There'd be other guys that would shift to fullback.
That's what Jacko said. That he said, you could move him to center, move Crichton to fullback.
Yeah, but even Crichton, probably the best center in the world at the moment. I don't know that I'd change him.
Yeah, I think you don't want to change a winning team. And you know they got pants last week, but overall, you know, you try to keep the same team. But we'll just have to wait and see. We'll probably know this time next week when he's in the team, I guess, if it's actually announced and he's pushed straight in. But yeah, we'll see. My question to you though, the past few weeks we've seen the Warriors struggle in attack in large patches. How would you add spark to the attack via either a player or a game plan change?
Yeah, it's tough because adding spark to our attack, I know we can add spark to our attack by adding a little bit more risk. But had we done that all season so far,
lost a few games.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was about to get to. I think our conservative game plan has actually won us quite a lot of games this year. I think if we'd gone about our attack taking more risks, maybe our completions aren't as high, and you know, maybe we don't win some of those games. But definitely, game plan wise, we could add more second phase, look a bit more at our last tackle options because we're very conservative with that. Bomb it, try and pin them, which is great. That's obviously something Webby's brought over from the Panthers because that's something we've done for the past 3 years, and it has its upsides, it has its downsides too, where maybe we can get a little bit predictable every so often in attack. So maybe a player. I think for all that Chance does with his hard graft, it's a defensive selection. because even he takes a lot of runs, but a lot of the runs he takes is out of tough carries. He takes a lot of hit-ups, you know what I mean? In terms of attacking finesse, maybe Tane's got a little bit more if we were to be red zone attacking. But I've been a fan of wanting to bring Tane as fullback. That's a very fence-sitting answer. Danced around the question. I don't know, Brad. I actually think we've shown games like Magic Round where we've attacked nicely. I think if we just persist and keep building on combinations, those games where it clicks where it all clicks, that they'll come. But also you'll get games like the weekend where the conditions aren't great. You're up against a good defensive team, and you're going to have to grind out a win as well. And the attack's not always going to look good. So I wouldn't change a lot, to be honest. I just persist and keep working, keep getting miles in that spine, and keep building upon the combinations. And what Jacko said there is true. You take Chance out and you lose all of his benefit, which is very good communicator from the back, very sound defensively. He might not get you as many try assists or tries as some of the other fullbacks, but very safe.
Yeah. So that was a very long way of saying you don't know, which is great. I thank you for your honesty.
Mate, I was open about it. I said I was dancing around it.
Well, don't know. Also, or don't need to.
Yeah,
we need to. We'll let the prop tell them how to attack. Then I guess. No, I'm pretty much the same, to be honest. But offloads, not a lot, but a bit of second phase footy helps disrupt defensive lines, and once you disrupt the defensive lines, you'll be able to plug it. And a player, Sam Healy. Sam Healy would be my 14 if they're going to stick with having a little guy on the bench instead of Tamati. I'd have Sam Healy, bring him on for a patch just to add some spark out of the dummy half area. That's no slight against Wade Egan, but I think a change in tempo just for a little stage, you bring him on when some of those forwards in the opposition are starting to tire a bit. He's got a good running game. Not saying that Egan doesn't, but it just adds a bit of variety, and the variety is a bit harder to defend. As you said, getting predictable is a bit easy to slow it, but I'm a massive fan of Healy. Been wanting to see him, actually get his opportunity. He was one and done, which is a bit of a trait sometimes with Webby, where he'll give a guy a debut and then you never see them again. But yeah, I think he could add a bit more spark. You don't need to throw everything out, but I think just a few little tweaks could turn it from, scoring 2 tries a game to scoring 3 or 4. And then that gets you a bit more into that conversation. But yeah, that's it.
As sure as I walk outside and the grass is green, I could have. It's the same. I knew you were going to say offloading.
It's the greatest thing that ever happens in Game of League, man, is an offload. It's
very predictable you are, Brad.
It's literally the only skill I knew how to do in a game, so I'm always going to advocate for it.
Just like the Warriors attack.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jacko said Lecker off the bench is a plus as well. Yeah. For selfish reasons, I've liked seeing him start because he's in my fantasy team, but I think him coming off the bench against tired forwards is more damaging. So I'm all for that. And spoilers for what we're about to do now when we talk about the teams. It's good to see him having that type of bench role again. So yeah, Warriors vs Rabbitohs, mate, this Sunday. You want to give me that Warriors team?
Would love to. CNK at the back. Dylan Watene-Lesniak, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on the wings. So our back three is very hyphenated with their surnames. Adam Pompey, Rocco Berry in the centres. Schnell, Harris, Tavita, Luke Metcalf in the halves. Fisher, Harris, Wade Egan, Mitch Barnett front row. Kurt Capewell, Marata Niokore, Aaron Clark. And then the interchange bench. Tamati Martin, we were just talking about that. Leka Halasima, Dimitri Vaimonga, and Jacko Ford.
Yeah, so what do you think of the team? I was a bit surprised when I saw it on Tuesday. just the Rocco Berry situation.
Yeah.
I know he was due coming back, but Ali Leotawa getting the late call up last week and then being dropped this week completely. He was limping a bit, but looking at their news report about the team, they said he was, it was layman's terms, he was dropped for Berry. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm happy to see the captains back. Think, Lecker coming off the bench be good. In my review, I said I would have liked 4 forwards on the bench just to help against the big boys against for the Rabbits. They got a decent pack. So I thought maybe, you drop a Tamati off there and you have a Laban in there. If there is an outside back change, you do have Capewell who can go out there. And yeah, Jacko said he thought Dimitrik may have been given a rest with Stour was coming in. Yeah, I think we're going to get to a point at some stage in the season where your Leckers, your Dimitriks will disappear for it to get a rest because, it is a big thing playing week in, week out at their young age, but we'll see. And Amanda said, Berry, I just don't get it. Ali has a bigger ceiling. He does defensively, though. He leaves a bit to be desired at the moment defensively. So I think that's what they've done. They brought Berry in for defense. I don't know. Hindsight will be a good thing. We'll see if it's the right decision or not come Sunday. Any other thoughts you want to add to that team before I rattle out the Rabbits?
No, rattle out the Rabbits, man. Oh, I'm happy with the team.
All right. Latrell Mitchell is named at fullback to back up after Origin. Wingers are Alex Johnson and Bailey Benti-Hapi. Centres are Isaiah Tars and Campbell Graham. Halves are Jaden Sullivan and Jamie Humphreys. Front row, we've got Jai Arrow, Savilia Havili, and Keon Kolomatangi. Second row, we've got Ewan Aiken, Tallis Duncan, and then lock, we've got Lachlan Hubner. Then the bench, we've got Jai Gray, Sean Kepi, David Mwali, and then Tavita Totola. Not a bad team. I'm less nervous about it when I see the halves aren't what they could be. With Cody Walker and Whiten still out, but still a very good side. Latrell may not make it depending on what happens tonight. But I still think Warriors going to get the job done, mate.
Me
I
too.
think we're going to bounce back and win this one.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. So we'll bring up the rest of the round now before we let everyone go.
So the Warriors are at $1.77. They're favourites over the $2.05 Rabbitohs with the TAB.
13 plus. They're going to make a mockery of me by showing how much they can attack. So I stole this picture, so thank you, League Unlimited, for letting me steal it off the internet in case anyone asks. Because the NRL forget about the round 13 because Origins tonight, they didn't give us a picture. So Friday night, we've got Dragons Knights. I've gone with the Dragons, mate.
Me too.
I think at home they're going to do it.
The Dragons strong favourites at $1.52. The Knights at $2.55. So yeah.
But yeah, if we look at my stats, every time I pick the Dragons this year, they've lost. So it might be
I see what you're doing there.
Trying to get them to that wooden spoon, mate. Then on Saturday, we've got a triple header starting off with Titans Storm. I've gone with the Storm.
Storm, yes.
Yeah, as the shortest odds of the weekend, the Storm at $1.28, Titans $3.70.
Next up, we've got Cowboys Tigers. I've gone Cowboys, strictly being at home.
Yeah, home ground. Yeah, we're using the same logic this week, Brad. I can see.
A bit surprised to see them the second strongest favourites this round at $1.42 to the Tigers $2.95.
I think betting odds are on the Galvin thing having an adverse effect on the Tigers. I think that's the logic potentially. Then the last game on Saturday, we've got Seagulls, Broncos. I've actually gone with Broncos. I don't know why. I just have lost faith in the Seagulls at the moment.
Yes, I went Broncos. I'm doing what you did with the Dragons. I'm trying to put reverse psychology on them.
So Broncos and Seagulls currently 8th and 9th in the table, both with 12 wins. And the Broncos have got a bad away record with 2 wins and 4 losses. But the Broncos are favourites at $1.72 to Manny Seagulls $2.15.
Nice. And then we've got a triple header again on Sunday. starting with the Rabbits Warriors, where we both back Warriors. Next game is Panthers Eels, which is actually more interesting than you'd think, but I've gone with Panthers.
Yeah, I went Panthers as well.
I feel like Cleary's going to bring everyone from Origin back for this, and they're going to want to make a statement after being embarrassed. So.
And well, this is one of those ones that's a sort of a double win because against your wooden spoon competitors. The $1.62 for the Panthers, $2.30 for the Eels. So yeah, everyone's on the Panthers bandwagon for this one, but people have fallen off that quite a bit recently, or the wheels come off it.
Yeah. And then the last game is Roosters Raiders, probably a contender for game of the round. I've gone with the Raiders.
I also went with the Raiders. Let's bring the multi back for old time's sake. That's an 8-game multi.
8-game multi, Paul. We can do it.
You guys are smoking crack again.
I can honestly tell you my multi that I placed before the show started today, I didn't even do all 8.
So the Roosters on this one are $2. The Raiders are favourites at $1.82. So you've gone after a round where every single upset
favorite
you've gone for a round with all of the favourites. So you guys clearly know what you're talking about, boys.
Statistically, surely we can't have 2 rounds in a row where every favourite loses. You know.
Well, no, but I think we could safely say that all the favourites won't win. On this one.
I've never claimed to know what I'm talking about either. I know nothing. I'm just here for the ride.
And I'm a prop, so I have that excuse always in the back pocket if I need it.
So you think you know everything, even if you don't.
Yeah. The picks that we just did in round 12, if I had picked nothing, I would have ended up on the highest score of our comp because it defaults to the away team if you don't pick. So I think it was 2 or 3 out of the 5 were away wins, at least 2. So I would have beaten everybody. But yeah, anything else you want to add before we let everyone go? It's half an hour before kickoff for Origin, so
yes,
we already said who we're going to pick, didn't we? You're picking New South Wales. I'm picking Origin.
We did, and I did want to add before we go. I've been getting texts throughout the show. Please say on your show, up the Maroons. No, I won't do that at all, guys. There's about 2 or 3 people. Up the Blues.
Up the Maroons, I guess.
You guys always go with the same team. There's no point picking for that game.
That's why I forgot to put it on there, because of that fact. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on Rugby League, tune into our show next Wednesday at 8 p.m. here on Facebook or YouTube. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Cheers again for joining me, Richie, and thank you, Paul, for all your help in the background. And good night, everyone.